up.
Now, what do you mean? Let's go back. I want to back up since you're going to blame the IT guy.
I'm saying, listen, every time we do this, practice session, live, it doesn't matter. We may have gotten right into the room one time, maybe.
Really?
Absolutely. This is every single time.
And it's kind of unusual because I know when I basically go into the room and like I just did the same thing last night and it was no hiccups whatsoever. And it's
probably because you had a different guest. Is that what you're saying?
But it's like there was no hiccups. Like this because there was a podcast this afternoon, and I had to make sure everything was set up properly. Like okay, and everything worked fine. But on that note, how you been doing, my man?
I'm doing marvelous. I don't know what you're saying though. I'm still trying to.
What do you mean you don't know what I'm saying?
I think you're trying to say, I think you're trying to say that I'm the reason that the technology, fails us.
Technology doesn't fail. It's usually the user.
Oh, you're not trying to say
99% of the time is the end user.
Okay.
Not the technology.
Here's what I'm trying to understand. I did the same thing both times.
What do you mean you did the same thing for both times?
I came in the first time, you couldn't hear me. So you kicked me out of your meeting room. You changed meeting rooms. And then I did the exact same thing. Now you can hear me.
Well, no, you didn't do the same because you said the second time you came in through your cell phone.
Right.
You tested the cell phone to see whether or not you was having audio and video, which showed that you were. And then you came in with the computer.
The same way that I did before.
First time. So that's usually how you do your troubleshooting, which is perfect. I give you kudos for that because that is exactly how you go through your troubleshooting steps.
I like it.
Seriously, that is.
I like it.
You eliminate. It's called a process elimination. As long as you can eliminate what caused what, and that normally does it pretty well. Again, like I said, it could have been a meeting room because the meeting room probably wasn't configured with audio. I will have to go back and check and see.
Absolutely. I was trying to eliminate me in
well, we can never eliminate Tavarus Hogan. And on that note, let's give an introduction here. One moment.
You're listening to the HNC Let's Talk podcast, hosted by Dexter Brooks. Thanks for tuning in to HNC Let's Talk podcast. We partner with subject matter experts to provide candid conversations on health and lifestyle. Here at HNC Let's Talk podcast, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and health are all connected. This episode of HNC Let's Talk podcast is sponsored by HealthNet Co. Together, we make insurance simple.
Good afternoon. I'm Dexter Brooks. I'm your host with HNC Let's Talk Podcast. As you guys heard earlier, I'm kicking it with who? Tavarus Hogan. What's going on, my man? And you guys heard us talking because he had technical difficulties. Notice I said he.
Let me know when you're done.
I'm done, man. I'm done.
Listen, first off, it's good to be back what I like to call home. I'm feeling comfortable here. Good
to hear.
HNC has this disclaimer where they're not going to take responsibility for anything. And I don't think HNC should be to blame. But by process of elimination, as I eliminated things, the one item that was left was a name, Dexter Brooks. Now, I'm not saying that, he's the reason, but I'm just saying through process of elimination, terms that he wants to use, that's what I had left when I eliminated some things.
Ah, gotcha. Tavarus, the last time we talked, you had some things going on. You had a new podcast coming up. Yeah. And I listened to that podcast. It was on fire.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the lady's name.
Mary Ellie Monday.
Yes. Her story was so, listening to her story, and you can actually put yourself in her positions and understand why they could say that she was feisty.
Right, you could tell. It came through the podcast.
It really did.
Yeah. Mary Ellie, she's great. She's a lot of the reason behind me being in this seat and having the conversation that we're having today. Uh, I've shared a couple times on the True Seven Life podcast that I was given the vision that it was going to launch in April, but we were in February and I had no idea how it was going to come to fruition. And her and I, we happened to be working out at the gym, back when you could go to gyms. And she talked to me about this individual who ended up being the first guest on the show. And he came in studio and just tore it up. And I knew from then I had to launch. And he gave me enough material and enough wind and enough confidence to say, hey, this thing is live. So I owe a lot to that scrappy mom, scrappy CEO, Mary Ellie Mundy.
I mean, her story, the way especially since she went back to say before she even, I think what she said before she had her kid, everything that she did, I was like, man, those are great guests. I mean, those are true natural guests. Have you did any more podcasts since then, since hers?
Yeah, so we release on the 7th and 21st of each month. She was the second guest. I think she was the 21st of April. And then May 2nd, we had an honored young lion, Timothy. He has a great story, former Marine, the few, the proud. And we have another podcast coming out on the 21st again. So by the time this airs, we will have, 4 to 5 out already.
Okay, because I see honored young lion Timothy. He's the CEO of Crossover.
Yep, FedEx.
FedEx.
Yep.
It's...
Yeah, so I've been blessed with great guests. I mean, literally, I turn the mics on, and they just take it away. My first guest, Alex Willis, I've got to give him credit because he actually helped me be a better podcaster. He's a motivational speaker, leadership coach, all of that. And he just brought a certain level of energy that I knew I was going to have to match, and something that I knew I was going to have to carry this podcast. So I owe a lot to him also.
It's always good to give the kudos back to where it came from, pass it forward.
That's the truth is the truth.
Got to pass it forward, man. That's the way it is. I mean, because I go on these sites where everybody, we was talking about this before, the Facebook pages where there's so many different podcast groups, and everyone is always talking about, how do you get a guest? How do you get a guest? How do you get a guest? And I still have to ask myself this question: why do people ask that question? What is your plan for attaining your guest?
I went to a conference a couple months ago, PodFest, Chris Cremistos, and there was a group, I think it was Hustle and Flow Chart, and they talked about, and I haven't incorporated this yet, but I did a piece of it. But when they send out emails, they have a link of their top 100 desired guests. And the thing is, they believe that there are very few degrees of separation of people, and especially with social media now, a lot of people are approachable. A lot of people are in your reach. So if they're sending out any email or any information, anyone can click on that guest and somebody's name could come up and they're like, oh, I know this person. Let me send them to them. Here is what I have done, and I'm in my infancy of podcasting, but I have a folder of, I don't have my top 100, but I have about 30 people that I want to be on the show. Some of them are going to be extremely difficult, but I believe that anything you believe can come true. So there are some guests on there that are highly esteemed that it's going to be very difficult for me to get them on their show. But the common bond is they're human just like me. So
yep, that's true.
I don't believe anybody is untouchable. So I believe those guests, I'm going to somehow, will them on my show. There are other guests that are a lot closer contact that I have in my folder, and I just go through and, I pray on it a little bit, and it's more of a feel thing of who should my next guest be. And it just comes together, man.
See, that's interesting because I'm totally opposite. I find my guests on Facebook. And I say that it's because, I already know what the format of the podcast is, how we have it structured. And normally someone will be doing something and I go, they will be a perfect fit. And I just reach out to them. Like I said, everybody's reachable.
Correct.
And I just reach out to them. And normally they'll come back and say, okay, or they'll say no. If they say no, I just move on. The only problem I have is getting guests that are international. That is an issue.
Yeah. Let's talk about this Facebook thing because I'm in the same boat. I'm trying to build out my guest list, and you want to make sure you have a backlog and all of that. What's your approach? I mean, I have my notepad and my pen right here. I'm ready to be educated.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
I'm telling you. I mean, give me the rundown because, as you said, our approaches are different, and
Okay, I'll give you an example. The other day I was on Facebook, and a young lady that I met probably once and collaborated with in a business venture about 2 years ago. She just launched a podcast. And I was thrilled to see that she had launched a podcast because she's very spiritual. And, you go through this format, congratulations, blah, 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 and then just let her know. So I think you'll be a great fit as a guest on our podcast. And she basically asked questions about the podcast. And I said, here's this link. Go take a look at it. Let me know what you think. And from that, it just moves forward.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to agree with you. I've courted a couple of guests, and it didn't seem that difficult. So I was just curious about that process because I hadn't went that route. Most of my guests, we recorded in studio. Actually, my next podcast that I release, actually, by the time we hear this, it will have been released, but it will be the first guest that I recorded via Zoom or, virtually.
Oh, see. We don't launch our studio. Well, we're doing a studio next month, but it's still going to take about 30, 60 days to get the studio set up. I do like the virtual feel. You asked me why, I don't know.
Well, I know why I like it. It's less time consuming. It's less logistical. I literally recorded a podcast today and I had to pack up. I have a mobile, quote unquote, studio, pack it up, take it to wherever the location is. You have to make sure the acoustics are okay.
And that's the biggest thing right there. And I tell people every time, that is the biggest thing. Is the acoustics okay?
Right. So we were going around the room and I'm clapping to see what type of echo there was and all of this. And I'm like, listen, we're going to have to record in this closet with the brooms and everything.
Yeah, because we're looking at a nice spot not too far from where I live. And the thing I love about it is because it was a training room. It's a company that does computer training, and they own the building. And the space is perfect because since it's already wired for computers and everything like that, but there's just the door and the walls. There's no windows.
Yeah. So
that was a plus because then I had to worry about putting up panels over the window because of the noise from traffic.
Right.
And it's the only thing I have to do now is basically put up acoustic ceiling tile.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I need to do. And I'm like, perfect.
I've got a guy also if you need him. Audie Mute.
What does he do?
Treatments. Like he builds studios, treats rooms, and all of that.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
And send me his information because we're going through the process of doing. This is a mixed office because, like we do insurance, and as part of it's going to be for the insurance, another part's going to be for the podcast.
Yeah.
So
I'll give it.
I'm really excited about it, man. Trust me.
I can't wait to come see it. I'll give my guy some love.
Yeah, you have got to come out here to Colorado.
Listen, as soon as they say I can travel, maybe not as soon, but a couple months after, I'm definitely coming to Colorado for sure.
I mean, it's like, oh man, people are popping up with podcasts all over the place nowadays. Everybody's doing a podcast, and you know what it is? You know why and how?
Tell me.
Okay, they're going through, what is it called? Something FM. Who's the?
This is definitely news to me.
Yeah. See,
while you're looking, let me give a shout out to my guy Mitch Zlotnick from Audi Mute. He can do your room treatments and everything, and I'll make sure I send you that info.
All right. I got an email from those people, and I deleted it because everybody wants you to utilize their, format to host your podcast.
Right.
And one of my buddies that's in California, he's been doing the podcast. Well, he hasn't been doing podcasts. He's been doing YouTube and all these different things like this, but he never did a podcast. So all of a sudden he jumped into podcasting.
Yeah. And
I'm like, well, it ain't that simple, right? Now,
when people hear good quality and all of that, some people make it seem simple, and some people have a good system. But yeah, when you first get in and you're trying to do it, I don't think there's any simplicity to it at all, especially if you're trying to do it at a high level.
That's one thing I said, well, it's not that simple. So I'm sort of surprised that he jumped into podcasting. And then I found now that he's utilized this particular hosting company. I'm like, okay, that's why, because they basically have everything already set up. And the only thing you got to do is basically just talk to your phone.
Hey, that's good.
That's it. But you got to realize, when you're talking to your phone, you're not going to get the same audio quality.
Correct. And yeah, I don't know about editing and all of that. I mean, I guess it's probably just uploaded from what you say.
Right. Everything is basically real time. So it's real time. Whatever you say is there, and then you can go back and delete whatever you want to delete and correct whatever you want to correct. But it's quick and simple. It's like a plug and play with Microsoft for podcasters.
Right.
And so that's why you're getting a lot of people jumping into it now. But I tell people, so the thing is, if you don't look at your quality, and people don't look at the quality, the thing is, there's more to it, because even they look at the AAC file and say, that's it, I'm done with it. But then if you go listen to your podcast, if you listen to it on your computer, it sounds one way. You listen to it in your car, it sounds a different way. As you listen to it on your television, it sounds a different way. So you're going to want to make sure that sound quality is equal across every device that can stream a podcast.
Right. And listen, I'm all for authenticity. A lot of people say they want the ums and ahs and false starts, and I get that. Yet again, there's something to say about a quality edited podcast. It's easier to listen to. It's more pleasant. And I think you're going to have more success when you put the time to enhance the audio quality.
That is absolutely true. I mean, yeah, I've listened to and you, like I said, you're in the early stage and your podcasts are crisp.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'm still, working out kinks and learning and growing and all of that. So, but I've put a lot of work into that. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I see the work you've been doing. I think you've been doing some promotional stuff too, right?
A little bit. I'm just trying to figure it out. One thing I'm going to do is be active. Half the time, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I'm just doing. I've always been the type of individual to kind of lay back and all of that, but man, I'm just going for it now, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I saw this promotional for what was this? Some type of drinking water in California.
Oh, Aqua Equity, my guy Ryan Morgan. Yeah. And so, he's a former colleague of mine. He sent me some samples. It's electrolyte enhanced purified water. It's called Aqua Equity. They're in the early stage, and the water is delicious, and it's, extremely hydrating and all of that good stuff.
Got to take a look at that. What was his name, Ron?
Ryan Morgan.
Ryan Morgan. Hey, Ryan, this is Dexter Brooks in Colorado. Send me some samples and we'll put them up on our site, because we now do have a website that sells merchandise.
Yeah, and right now he's local to Cali, but he would be good to get on the show. And by the end of the year, they'll definitely be expanding distribution. So he'll be a great contact for you.
Yeah, tell him start early.
Listen, we have people in Florida. I think I just posted once, and I had a guy from Florida contact me about distribution also. So I reached out to him, and he just said he's not quite ready to, you don't want to grow too fast before you can handle the capacity. But it's a good thing, from one post, he has people asking about it.
That's all it takes, is that one post, because you'd be surprised right now. Like, I've been noticing, like, due to this COVID situation, a lot of companies are closing.
Yeah, I hate to hear that.
I know, man. That's what I've been like, whoa.
Listen, the other night, back to the one post, I was trying to tell my wife that I was an influencer. She's like, laughing at me. So
did she really laugh at you, man? Did she?
Yes, I think this validates the fact that I'm an influencer. I got two people, asking about Aqua Equity after one post. I mean, I think that's influencer status.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
That is exactly what it is.
But yeah, back to your point, it's sad, it's unfortunate what's going on with some of the businesses. Here's my hope. A lot of times people get into situations that may be not for them, and sometimes it takes a situation like this to get you out of it. So hopefully some of those individuals that are losing their businesses, hopefully it's for the good and it's for the long-term betterment.
But I'm not talking about new startups. I'm talking about businesses that have been in business for a long time.
There are people that have been in relationships for a long time.
That's just so wrong.
That's why my show is called True 7 Life. I mean, so just because you've been in business for a long time doesn't mean you need to stay in business. I was working for a company in my early career, and they had some practices that weren't long-term sustainable, and it was going to cost them in the long run. And we made the decision to change some of those practices that had been in place for a long time. And when you change things, customers are like, hey, listen, you've been doing this for 10 years. Okay, well, we've been doing it wrong for 10 years. We're not going to continue to do it that way. So I get it, but it could be for the betterment.
You got a point there. You do have a point there. I mean, I was truly surprised. I know. Do you guys have in Florida? I'm sure you guys do. There's a social media thing called Neighbors.
Yes.
Okay. So I joined the group. I've been on it forever, but I never actually utilized it. So in the last couple of days, I sort of tapped back into it again. And with everything going on with COVID, there's a lot of chatter. And all that chatter has a lot of good information about businesses that are closing. And the ones that I found with clothing was so it's like you'd be surprised, because especially in Colorado, these companies that had been in business for so many years that had a great revenue stream, because you notice how busy they were every day. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, closed, gone out of business, out of the blue. And it's kind of shocking there. It's sort of make you want to think, is this the right time to start a business, or is it the right time to end a business?
I believe it's situational, and I don't want to be narcissistic or insensitive, but everybody's situation is different. For certain people, it is the absolute right time to start a business, beyond a shadow of doubt. For others, this is an opportunity for you to shut your business down, there's a buzzword going on now. Everybody's saying pivot, pivot, pivot. This is an opportunity for some people to pivot. For some people, it's an opportunity for you to hold on, for you to test your faith, for you to stay the course and just endure and build some confidence and see yourself through.
So you're either going to pivot or you're going to either reinvent.
You're going to not necessarily reinvent. For some people, you're going to invent. For some people, you'll pivot, which is similar to reinventing. And for some people, you just got to hold on. You've got to fight. A lot of times when times get tough, and it's tough on Monday, and it's tough on Tuesday, and it's tough on Wednesday, and it's tough next week, and it was tough 3 weeks ago, that's where businesses are made. That's where greatness is made, all of that. If you've been struggling and struggling and struggling, and you're still above water, keep struggling, because at some point the struggle is going to be over. So if you can say you're struggling, keep struggling. As long as you don't get taken out, keep struggling, because we're in a time right now where a lot of people are struggling.
Yeah, that is a excellent point, because as long as you're struggling, you're above water.
Yeah, keep struggling.
That is so, so true. So tell me, what's been happening down in the Florida area since, we don't, this is a strange thing. We don't hear a lot of news about Florida. Out of every state, we hear news about Texas, Georgia, California. We never hear. What is it? You guys have like news blocked or something? Is
I guess being in Florida, I'm definitely more exposed to it. And friends of mine that aren't in Florida, they're definitely always asking me questions about Florida.
Because you don't hear anything. That's my point. You don't hear anything.
Well, somehow everybody heard that the beaches were open.
Yeah, we did hear that, because that was a big thing there.
But if that's the case, I feel much better about being in Florida, because I am a private person. But here's what's really going on in Florida. And, last time we talked, I didn't really want to speak on the situation. I've given it a little bit more attention. I'm much more educated on it. And there are people that are looking for my opinion on it. So in Florida, we're loosening up the mandates and loosening up the restraints. There are some people that are on committees here in Florida that I'm pretty close to, and they've been monitoring the situation, and we're doing everything we can to continue to be safe. But there are some essential businesses that we've been heavily monitoring, people that have still been going to work because they're essential. There hadn't been any outbreaks. And I'm only speaking about Jacksonville. I don't know about Orlando. I don't know about South Florida, but North Florida, there have been less and less cases, 0 outbreaks. And we feel like we can slowly go back into this thing. And if we're doing the right things, we can still be safe and we can still be protected. There are a lot of businesses that have plastic barriers up between themselves and the consumers. There are businesses that are requiring masks. A lot of people don't want to wear masks, but there are businesses that are requiring masks. We're trying to distance as best as we can. I say we because I'm a part of it, but I'm personally not out there. But I think we're taking a cautious approach with respect to people's individual situations.
Oh, that's good to hear. And the reason I say that, because like I said, I sort of re-tapped back into Neighbors, and someone posted on there recently, because we have a lot of open space here in Colorado, and we have a lot of trails, and the person posted about the trails, that the trails were so crowded with people that there was no social distancing and people were not wearing masks. And then apparently it sort of like became a wildfire, that one post, because people were saying, well, you really shouldn't have to wear a mask when you're on the trail. There's no way you can show us a distance. And we do have mandates in Colorado, especially if you're in Denver. Denver does have a mask mandate. Everybody, if you live in the city of Denver, if you live in the county of Denver, you're mandated to wear a mask whenever you leave your house. And being on Neighbors, found out that there were people that didn't even realize that was a mandate, because apparently the communication had got broken down. Some heard the last update that said you can wear a mask when you enter a building only, or going into a restaurant, but didn't hear the final decision, which was that you had to wear a mask, period, whenever you left your home. And that piece came about because we also have a lot of condos in Colorado, and we have a lot of high-rise apartments. And every rule that was put in place sort of left those group of people out. So when they would say people wear a mask, they didn't say anything about people living in condos or high-rise apartments. And you got to realize apartments and high-rise and condos are just like being in a hospital. You got narrow hallways. There's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of foot traffic. Yeah. So it had to be something done about it. So they decided to go with, no matter what, whenever you leave your home, you wear a mask, which for me is not a problem since I do have a healthcare background, and that was standard for that's something I've been doing forever. But for a lot of people, it is an issue. And I understand that. I have a lot of respect for that. That is an issue for people. It is not a comfortable thing to do, to wear a mask daily, at least for not 8 hours. Every mask is not comfortable. And I do suggest people do try out different ones that seem to work for them.
Yeah, and let me go ahead and heighten this thing up. I'm going to take the other side and say I do have a little bit of an issue. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. But somebody that has to wear a mask 8 hours a day, I get it. But if you're going into a grocery store, if you're going to be in a place for 5 minutes, the masks that I have, yeah, they're uncomfortable. I went to church service. I was in there, an hour and a half. I had my mask on. It's a large church. We seat 3,000 people. There were maybe 100 people in there. I was not within 100 feet of the next person. I still had my mask on. And for me, it's more out of respect for somebody else.
Thank you.
I don't believe for 1 second that I have it or have come into contact with it, but I don't know. I'm on the younger end of the spectrum. If I get it, from what I hear, I'm probably going to kick it. I don't want to get it, not know I have it, be asymptomatic, and transfer it to someone else. I just feel like I have a responsibility to other people, and out of respect for them and myself, I wear it. It's just an unselfish act. And yeah, it's uncomfortable, but if you want to achieve greatness, which I'm striving for, I'm going to have to be uncomfortable. So that's just my stance on it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, and that's the thing I wish everybody would take that same simple stance right there, because it's not about just you. It's about the person that's next to you. And apparently there was a recent study that just was released yesterday. I think it came from Hong Kong, that surgical masks do prevent the spread by 75%. And it's the first study ever done with surgical mask. And that's a big deal. I mean, that's a huge deal when you think about it, because it's someone wearing a surgical mask. But the thing is, people don't understand the difference between what mask to wear, which one of the things. But I'm just like, cover your face. Yeah, people do great here. I can say that. Where I shop at, people do pretty well. They all go to the grocery store. They all know 99% of them have on a mask. I mean, I did run into an old gentleman the other day. He had to be in his 60s. He didn't have on a mask, but he had on gloves.
Oh my! So don't want it to get on my hands, but I can breathe it in.
But I can say, 99% of the people do wear a mask, and I can appreciate that. Now, on the outdoors, we're above sea level here in Colorado, so it's summertime. Like now,
extremely far.
it's really dry heat, and you really don't want nothing on. To be honest with you, it's not like the South where you got the humidity and you get wet. Here, there's no humidity, so it's just dry heat, and you feel miserable. Even if you have a cloth mask on your face, it just makes you feel miserable.
Yeah, and I understand that. I'm glad to hear that the percentages of individuals wearing masks there is much higher than it is here, because when I'm out, I feel like I'm lucky if I see 10% of the people wearing masks. On the best day, maybe 30%. But I feel like I'm going around places and I have my mask on and people are looking at me like, why is he wearing a mask? Is he okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. Why aren't you wearing a mask? That's the question we need to be asking. So it's an interesting, dynamic going on right now.
It is, and I hope and I pray this soon will be over. It's caused enough ruckus in my life, and I'm sure it's caused enough with everybody else. It's kind of different, like I say, business now having to pivot, and I like that terminology because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I mean, this too shall pass, and it's a test of fortitude. It's a test of poise. It's going to really make some people analyze and dig deep and say, hey, is this what you really want? Is this what you stand for? Is this what you're about? And, some businesses are going to have to show some resiliency. And I think the ones that I just believe, I don't want to be insensitive, but I think the businesses that are supposed to be around, they'll be around. And the individuals that may lose their businesses, they may lose their business, but I believe they're going to gain something else.
All right. So on another note, let's talk about your great background, because we know we touch bases on every time that your background. You're a podcaster, basically. You've been in podcasting. This is your first time doing your own podcast, but you've basically been hosting a podcast.
Correct.
So don't you think it's time you started a podcasting learning center online or something to that nature, training?
So I think we talked about the two services. My main focus, presentation skills coaching, but secondary to that, podcast coaching. And with that, the training and all of that, there are some other things, some e-learnings, some online classes that I have to put together before I get to the podcasting that's related to presentation skills. But the podcasting, let's just call it Podcasting Academy. It will come, but we're looking at next year. I've been talking with some individuals about building a studio. That's the first thing that needs to happen. I think we're maybe 6 months away. I'm hoping we can have a temporary space in the next 2 months, and then we can build long-term in 6 months. Once we have the studio up, there'll be a place where we can go bring people in, coach, mentor, develop, all of that. And it will allow this service of podcast coaching to really develop and really grow.
Can't wait for it, man.
And it's all because you're asking for it.
But so I have a reason for asking for it. That's the thing. It's not
okay.
It's my
premeditated.
Oh yeah, always.
Let's go. America wants to hear your reason.
No, because I know I know that you're on the brink of having this roll out pretty soon. So I know that fact. So you need to actually make sure it rolls out here in Colorado.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay. So that's just enough of a hint right there.
So, no, let's unpack this thing, because having it roll out in Colorado, that's a couple things. We can just have a podcast and we can launch it on the HNC show, or is this something that needs to be physically in Colorado?
There you go. It has to be physically in Colorado.
Okay.
We need to make sure it's physically in Colorado, that you actually be able to provide training both in Florida and Colorado.
And we're talking about Denver.
In Denver.
Okay. Does Denver have an appetite for that?
Oh, yeah. Denver got an appetite for everything. It's Denver.
So, listen, I have people in Denver. So this could be a reality. It's a 2021 reality for sure. But if we can find the right partners, I have the resources. And if Denver has an appetite for it, let's speak that thing into existence and let's let it be.
Absolutely. Because like I said, I live in DTC, which is considered Denver Tech Center. So everything here is basically, to me personally, is technology driven.
Okay.
And like I said, podcasts are growing rapidly every single day. There's always somebody launching a podcast. We even have we are in Colorado Springs. We have the House of Podcasts.
I think I'm familiar with them. I think I've seen them on Instagram.
Yeah.
House of Podcasts. Yeah.
House of Podcasts in Colorado Springs. Now, Colorado Springs and Colorado Springs and Denver are two different places. When I say that, when I say that, not just because one is Colorado Springs and one is Denver, I mean mindset.
Yeah, I've been to both. I didn't spend enough time out in Colorado Springs to get a good feel for their mindset, but I feel like I got a good grasp of the culture in Denver. Tell me more about that. Now, but you're saying have the center in Denver, not Colorado Springs.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, getting into Denver from Jacksonville is a lot easier than getting into Colorado Springs. But hey, my cousin's out in Peyton, Steve Hunt. I love you, man, but you got to move closer to Denver.
Where he's out in where? Peyton, Colorado?
Yeah, right outside of Colorado Springs.
Yeah, it's just Colorado Springs is a mindset different. I love Colorado. I lived in Colorado Springs for 3 years. Great place to live.
Yeah, so we vacationed in Colorado Springs. I don't know if we talked about this, but there were like deer, like literally walking up to the car. I'm like, what's going on with this? Like, that doesn't happen in Florida. They're running from us in Florida.
Yeah, most of the animals here are people. I'm not going to say people friendly, but yeah, they will come up to you.
They're people curious for sure.
People curious for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the great thing about Colorado. I think that's one of the things that drew me to Colorado 15 years ago was the fact that when I went and had my first experience and going skiing, and was the fact that everything was just so close to you, like even the animals, you can just tell it, you can sense it. You know, the cows, the horses. You drive one place, you got horses and cows. The next place, you got the city. The next place, you got suburbs and snow. And it's like that was something I needed because I'm from Georgia, and Georgia basically is always hot or is always raining, and wintertime was really cold. I don't like cold water that much in the wintertime, but I can deal with snow. And it's not cold in Colorado when it snows. It's a dry snow.
Yeah, one cool thing is, and I don't know if this is all over the Springs, but there were people ice skating in like lakes and ponds and all of that. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to take that risk.
Yeah, that is a risky thing. You got to make sure the pond is actually solid all the way through.
Yeah, I assume this one was. There weren't any casualties whenever we were there that day.
I mean, Colorado is a really, it's like a state that's so free, no matter where you go. And I think that's why I love it so much. And I have to say I love it because when I brought my mother's here,
mm-hmm.
and she's been here for about a year and a half. She's in renal failure, but she's here with me, and she fell in love with it. And she's 88. She just turned 88 2 weeks ago. And she moved here when she was 87. You know how hard it is to get an 87-year-old to root themselves off from the South
to go to a cold weather climate like Colorado. I don't know, but I can only imagine.
Yeah, that took 3 years talk.
Man,
that was a 3-year conversation, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until I finally got her convinced.
Yeah, I don't know if you convinced her, you just wore her down.
Same difference.
So we're gonna have to talk, man. I need to find a good ski in, ski out resort close to Denver, somewhere in Colorado that's convenient to get to.
There aren't any. They're close to get. Resorts are always in the mountains.
Yeah. How far is Vail from?
Oh my God, dude! Vail is nowhere near us. It's actually like I said about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive. Depends on the traffic.
That's just like Colorado Springs, though.
Right? Yeah. If it depends on the traffic. If you got everybody just heading up to the mountains on a Friday, and you're gonna get stuck in the traffic, then you're gonna look at 2 hours at the most. But yeah, it's like driving to Colorado Springs. And Vail is the furthest in of the resorts.
Gotcha.
You're going to pass a few other resorts before you even get to Vail.
Well, I don't have to go to Vail. You tell me where to go, and that's where we're going. keep me from going to Vail.
But that's the thing. And then you got the whitewater rafting, which I'm sure you probably guys have that in Florida.
Yeah, not quite like out there. Yeah, I went whitewater rafting out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming a couple times. It's definitely different out there. There is some on the East Coast, but definitely not in Florida like it is in the mountains.
Yeah, Colorado's it's an outdoor state. That's why this COVID thing has made it so difficult for a lot of people here, because we're such an outdoor state. And me personally, I'm not that big of an outdoor person, but I do enough outdoors that I can feel the effect. But the thing that since I've been remote for the last 3 years, the agency itself has been working remote for the last 5 years. So there was no effect on the agency whatsoever. I mean, this is the first time we're actually going to step foot into a office building, and it happened to be during COVID.
Yeah, I think last time I was in Colorado 3 years ago with a colleague, Kevin Fitzgerald, we didn't do much outdoors, although I would like to get a round of golf in. You play any golf?
I played a little. I'm not a perfect person at it, but yeah.
Yeah, so
we got golf everywhere.
He had me indoors playing basketball with his league. But the next time I come to Denver, if the weather is good, I definitely want to pick up some sticks.
That's not a day that the weather's not good in Denver.
January 15th, January 14th.
Snow the snow doesn't hit Colorado. We get our first snow every year since I've been here. It always hit Halloween. That's the first cold front we get, the 31st of October. As you
and when does it break?
But then we don't start seeing the snow until February, March, April.
And when does it break?
The snow?
The cold.
Oh, well, that's what I'm saying. Well, you don't actually see the cold until February, March, around that time. It's not really cold in January.
So let's say a relative, because in Florida, sometimes it could be 68 degrees and it's freezing.
Right, but see, 68 degrees in Colorado is really nice and comfortable.
Oh, absolutely. But is it going to be comfortable to a Floridian?
No. And I say that because when being from the South, and I wore thermals for 3 years.
It took 3 years for your blood to get thick.
It took 3 years for my body to understand the climate.
Yeah.
That's all it was. It's 3 years. Then I realized, but you got people here when it's snow time, they still wear flip flops.
When I was in college in Nashville, I was young and dumb, but there were times where it would snow. Me trying to show my toughness, I would be out there with my shirt off.
See, there you go.
Didn't mean I wasn't cold though.
I mean, it has to be really, really cold. I mean, it's just. I think they say that it has to be like 31 degrees, at least 31 degrees for it to actually snow. Yeah. But the cold is, it's put like this, when it's cold.
Now you keep saying being from the South. Did we cover that?
Did we cover what? Being from the South, from Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, ATL?
I don't see how we would have missed that, but I don't think I knew that.
You didn't know I was from ATL, man?
I did not know.
Born and raised in ATL.
Okay. Cobb County, Gwinnett.
That's not ATL. ATL is Fulton County.
Okay. I just wanted you to say it.
ATL is Fulton County. ATL is what they pay the Grady baby. Can you say Grady baby?
I don't want to say that. What does that mean?
Greater Memorial Hospital, the oldest hospital in Georgia.
Oh yeah. I know about Grady.
Yeah. So if you wasn't born at Grady, you're not a born Georgian, as they say.
Yeah, I've heard about Grady. Let's say that. So everybody from Gwinnett and Cobb and all of that talking about they're from Atlanta. They're not from Atlanta.
No, they're from Gwinnett and they're from Cobb. That's it. They're from Gwinnett and they're from Cobb. Fulton County. But you got to realize how Georgia stretches out, because you got so many counties in Georgia. But you're actually from Atlanta if you was born in Atlanta and you was born in Fulton County. If you said the word Mechanicsville, then people know exactly what you mean when you say Mechanicsville. If you was around when Underground Atlanta was there, you know what that is.
Okay.
So, but like now you have the stadium has moved out to Cobb County. It's no longer in Fulton County. It's in Cobb County.
Mm-hmm. But y'all the Atlanta Falcons, come on now.
Yeah, but still, like but I realize they did that because of the tax revenues. And I
Yeah.
think it was a good move. Don't get me wrong, it was a great move. It was a great. I think it's is it BMW that owns that area over there?
Mercedes.
Mercedes Stadium, right? And it was a great move. It was a beautiful area.
Right.
But see, myself, I grew up at Atlanta Stadium. My house was down the street.
Yeah.
I could walk to the stadium.
So College Park, Decatur, East Point, you can't claim Atlanta.
You can probably claim Atlanta more from a College Park standpoint and an East Point standpoint than any other county.
But what about Decatur? Can you claim Atlanta if you?
Well, you can say if you're in Decatur, you're transient because most people like myself, your parents uprooted from Fulton County and moved to DeKalb County, which is in Decatur.
Okay, all right.
And that was like saying, hey, we're that's like the
moving on up.
We're moving on up.
Yep. All right.
That's exactly what it was.
I'm getting my ATL.
And now you got the Conyers in play, in Conyers in Covington, Georgia.
Yeah, that's
so
just way out there.
You got all that in play now.
Yeah. That's outside of 285.
That is outside of 285.
Yeah.
If you know 285, you know enough about Georgia. Because it goes around the whole city.
Right.
And it's weird because my career started off in medical and it transitioned into technical. And the technical parts was jumped into Hewlett Packard, HP. Yeah. And HP would basically, every year, they would pack you up and move you to another site. And that's because HP was, the founders of HP are military. And they believe that you're not progressing unless you're moving forward. And moving forward means you need to pack up and move every year.
Interesting.
Which was a really good concept because you actually got to learn a lot more and meet a lot of new people because you went to a whole different building, even if you had to drive another hour and a half to get to work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like change.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It gave you change. You never got bored.
Yeah.
Is
Atlanta?
No, right. There isn't a lot to do in Atlanta. There's a lot to do if you're planning on spending your time in the club and hitting the streets every single night. Yes, it is. But there's not a lot to do if you want to be outdoors. There's not a lot to do.
Okay. I mean, Atlanta has a decent amount of parks. You've got the baseball stadium. I mean, you've got sports there. You've got movie theaters. I know you said outside, but
see, everything is indoors in Atlanta. Everything is indoors. And your parks are very far away. You don't have a park within a mile, within what, say an hour drive within a neighborhood. They're not that close.
Yeah, you guys need a beach.
Yeah, but see, that was my goal and that was my plan when I came out to Colorado. I was supposed to have been here for 10 years and then go from here to California for another 10 years. And then the next 10 years to the Middle East and then circle back into the United States.
Hey, you're close. You can still get to Cali.
I can still get to Cali, I know.
Talk to my guy, Ryan Morgan. He'll hook you up.
I can still get to Cali. But I'm learning more about Cali now, so maybe that may have changed.
Right.
There's a lot. Cali's gotten so crowded. And people say Colorado is like Little California because a lot of our design is similar to California in a way.
I see this roadie that you're recording with. Have you always had that?
Yes, I have, dude.
Okay.
Don't give away my secrets.
We'll leave that there. I thought that's why I thought that's why you had us on Zoom so you could show it off.
No. That's that we did our first recording was on a roadie.
Yeah, I like it. That's why you have that quality. But I won't tell everybody.
Yeah, that's where you got the quality from. But then I realized Zoom quality is just as great as roadie.
No, don't even do that to those guys.
I hate to say it, man. Zoom has, and I've told everybody this, Zoom audio is extremely well. It ranks really high.
Listen, let's stop while we're ahead, because what's going to happen is, as you're saying this, it's just going to go bazonkers. So let's leave that alone.
I'm telling people this now, man. They better jump on the Zoom while they can. I'm not the type of person that will move over to a different platform unless I know that platform is a good platform.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I have a tendency to hear feedback in Zoom from time to time, and it sometimes gets annoying because it's stuff that I can't pull out in the editing. So it's 90, high 90% there, 95, 96, 97, sometimes 98, but it's just not 100% for me.
So is the feedback actually coming from Zoom, or is it maybe coming from the lack of acoustics within the area?
It may be from probably where the equipment is placed in relation to the computer, but in order to use Zoom, you have to go through either a phone or a computer, and the computer is going to give you the best sound because you can use, your microphone and technology and all of that. So, but hey, per our earlier conversation, I know you want to blame it on the user.
No. I'm not going to blame that on the user because, like I say, there's a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people jumping into the podcasting arena. But the thing is, there's a lot that needs to be learned. And that's why I was asking you about the piece that you're going to be training people on in coaching is that piece, that quality. Because if you don't know about, though, like I said, you got that feedback and the echo. And if you don't know about having the acoustic panels and all this stuff right here, then it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to invest time, and I try to make sure podcasts at least 45 minutes to an hour. Okay. If you're going to invest that much time, then do it right.
Yeah. And there are people that say, and I agree, content over technology. But if your technology overpowers your quality content, no one's going to listen long enough to understand that your content is quality. So yes, content is number one and will always be number one, but you have to have a vehicle that's not annoying for your listeners to hear your content.
Yeah, that's true. That's the main piece. I didn't know you can see my really though, dude.
Yeah, you placed it right there just so I could, so you could shine it in my face.
This desk been set up this way for a year. Trust me. Yeah, I love my roadie.
I love your roadie.
It saved me a lot of time.
Yeah, it's a great piece of equipment, man.
It did. It saved me. It's just a little bit sensitive though. If you move it, you have to be careful because if you just move it from one side of the desk to the other, it won't power on.
Interesting.
Yeah, you literally have to go. You have to unplug it. It's almost like you have to reset it.
I think I like that about the roadie even more now.
Yeah,
you got to treat me with some level of respect.
That's right. You can't just jumping me off somewhere, right?
Hashtag roadie. Let's go.
So maybe they ought to send me a couple of these. I actually got to pick up another one because you need to have at least two. You got to have redundancy.
I've got a little discount code that we can talk about offline also.
Whoa.
It's not much, but it's better than paying full price.
Trust me, anything's better than paying full price. Yeah, but and they're not easy to find. They're on back order most time when you buy them.
Interesting.
I was lucky to get mine before they got to be that popular.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interface that a lot of people recommend.
It is. I mean, now the thing you didn't recognize is, I don't know, did you notice the quality of my video is better?
I'm definitely recognizing the location of your camera, which is different. That's
See,
how I can
yeah.
see all of that roadie.
See, there you go. See, now that was back ordered just to even get a camera. Everything is now back ordered to do with technology because of COVID.
Yeah, your YouTube status right now.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm about to bust loose. Trust me.
I already know, man. I just want to be in the front row.
No, dude, you're not. You got to realize you're not a guest. You're not a guest. You're part of the team. You don't get to sit in the front row.
I'm gonna be back there.
You're gonna get
engaged.
You're on the stage.
Hey man, I appreciate it.
You know that. Come on. No,
yeah, man.
no. Absolutely. I told you already. You're on the stage, dog.
Hey, I appreciate it. I really like how you have your intro programmed in the roadie and all of that, but I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not gonna give out all your secrets, but I just had to touch of a button. Thank you. Yeah. It's big time right there.
You know I gotta edit that, people. We can't give her my secret. I got my dog. She's gonna give her all my secrets. But people don't understand it. It's not. It's more than that. It's just that. It's just a piece of equipment.
Here is there are two things on the agenda whenever I come to Denver. Number one, and this is just for me, I'm pretty sure you're going to have more of a list for me. And the order doesn't matter, but I have to get on the golf course. Number two, I've got to record the True 7 Life podcast from your studio.
That ain't a problem at all.
That'll be pretty cool.
I mean, both of those are pretty easy to do. And like I said, golf course here are just wide open, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Studio, no issue either. So you get to you can come pet the roadie.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Make sure that thing is locked down. TSA probably wouldn't let me bring it back anyway.
Oh, they wouldn't pay no attention. Trust me.
I'd be like, hold on, that looks like Dexter Brooks's. We're gonna have to make a phone call.
And I have a tendency to lose things really easily, especially when it comes to technology. I've traveled with my iPod. I've lost 2 iPads traveling.
Oh my! Don't lose the roadie.
You know, and it's like. And I was, before we had the podcast today, I was actually looking for a case for the roadie. And I was actually on their site and I did not find a case. So I got to call them and find out why there's no case. They got mic case, but they don't have a roadie case.
Now, are you planning on being mobile with that? That's a lot of space. There may be a better mobile solution, but I'm going to leave that alone.
Yes, I do. I actually do, because I believe that the quality is a lot better. And I'm more comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they definitely appreciate that. Good for you, man.
I mean, I am. I'm just more comfortable with it than I've looked at other, was it NT something boxes? I looked at those, and I'm just more comfortable with the roadie.
Yeah, I'm a Zoom guy myself. Zoom H6.
See, I will have to go back through and actually learn how to configure and set the Zooms.
Yeah.
You know, I got another buddy that's in Boulder. He's a Zoom as well, but he's completely experienced with it. And he can set up in 5 minutes with it.
Yeah.
You know, with me, I'll be going, okay, what is this? What is that? What is this? No, with me, I want to have my black case, like Men in Black. My black suit, like Men in Black. With the roadie. Yeah,
and you know where every plug goes, where every outlet is, where everything. Hey, yep. I'm with you.
Yep. There you go. Plug it here, plug it there, sit down, you move on, you're gone. That's it.
But the roadie has to be powered by electrical. Doesn't take batteries.
Yeah, that's the only drawback they got right now.
Not that I'm picking at it. I'm just saying.
I'm not going to be carrying around a generator anyway. But here's the deal. Here's the things. Someone just launched a new Rhodey lookalike.
I think I may have I definitely saw something. Tell me more.
And I'm trying to think of the name because it actually has Rhodey's name in their full name. Because Rhodey is, no, what he did, has a different name. They chose the same name. They took the back end because Rhodey is Rodecaster. And there's something Caster Pro. Half the size of Rhodey. I think it's 2 mic only.
I feel like I saw that on social media, and they were tearing it apart though.
They're launching it. They're now looking for funding for it. And the only thing I could say to it was that I did not believe in what is it? How did I word it? I don't like seconds.
You don't like imposters. You don't like the lookalike.
Right. I don't like lookalikes. I'm not a fan of lookalikes.
You don't like the replica. You like the authentic.
Yeah, and I don't even know how the thing work. And then when I actually went to their site, and since I don't know the name, and I'm not going to put it out on the podcast, and realized they're still raising funds for it, first thing that came to my mind was that I'm more than certain they're going to have a huge lawsuit coming up pretty soon from patent on that, because it looks so much like a Rhodey. It's like a Rhodey Jr.
Yeah. Well, let's leave that alone. I like my friends at Rhodey, and we'll just stay there. We definitely won't mention the other people's name. You had me looking it up.
Right. I'm not going to mention the name at all. I won't give him that credit. No. Mention.
Yeah.
So what are your plans? I mean, like I said, you're the 7th and the 21st. We're now at what's the day? The 19th?
Yes, today is the 19th.
And this month went by so quickly.
Yeah. When will we air though?
When would this release?
Yes.
I'm going to release this one on the 21st.
Oh, you're going to be in the studio immediately.
Oh, it can be released today. I mean, but
you got about 6 hours of editing.
So it's not that much to edit, like I said, because I don't do, I did a lot of editing in the past, but now that I'm on the Zoom, I sort of let everything go natural. The only time I do try to edit out things if there's a glitch, a lot of background noise that people don't understand after something got dropped, the communication was bad, something of that nature right there. But like I said, the Zoom quality has been at a 10.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, and I've cut my editing time down also. And, to a lot of people's points with being more natural, it's twofold. There's a little bit of more natural, but for me, sometimes you can edit to the death of a show. And after I put a certain amount of hours in, I'm like, look, that's it.
Well, just think, you don't want to edit too much. Like I said, you're looking for the quality and the sound, most likely. That's the main thing you're looking for. You're getting to the point now, like I don't do a lot of ooh, ah, bah, that type of thing. Like you and I now, we communicate, we flow. So it's very simple.
Right.
And that's what your podcast needs to be, that flow. As long as it's that flow, it makes it really easy. It's going to take away from a lot of that editing.
Right. Yeah, I'm in that same camp. I agree with you.
So I hope people learn that a little bit, because it's not the easiest thing in the world. And I don't like everything to always come across as being like an interview. Sometimes I'd rather for it to be a conversation, and less of an interview.
Yeah. Nah, I was gonna say, I've been told, and I feel like I've been gifted with this. I enjoy the interview style format, especially when someone can make it conversational.
Good point.
Yeah.
That is a good point. I mean, I have a podcast today later this afternoon with a young lady. I'm just going to give her some kudos here because I'm kind of intrigued about what she has going on. It was shocking. That's pretty cool. That there's so much that I don't know within my own backyard.
Yeah.
You know, but her name is Nina Sorensen. She owns a business, which is near where I live, and she is phenomenal. She's a, let's see what she say. What would I call her? Would I say that she's a psychotherapist? No, she's not. She's actually a high performance corporate teams builder.
Okay.
Oh yeah, she's the founder of Resilient Strategies of Solonco, specializing in employee assistance programs and consulting. But she has her own business, and it's basically set up for psychotherapy, health and wellness, physical and mental. So I'm intrigued with what she's got going on. She does this resilience strategy with this neurofeedback. Well, they can do this neurofeedback and this body feedback to help you relieve stress. And I'm curious to see exactly how that actually works, especially now in this time of day. You know, being from corporate America, I know how easily people can get stressed out because in corporate America, there's so much competition, and you're always looking over your shoulder to make sure things are going right, and you're always running and never having time to catch up.
Nina Sorensen. Yeah. Share that guest with us, Dexter Brooks. She sounds like she needs to be on the True Southern Life podcast.
I thought you would say that.
Yeah, you're always calculated. I knew you were bringing her up for a reason.
I thought you would say that. So I will definitely make sure I pass her your way. Because I think she'll be a great fit for your podcast as well.
Yeah. Hope you guys have a great show.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be pretty good. I don't have any complaints. To me, all shows are good. All shows are good. Even the shows I've been listening to, people, like I said, people that start off these new podcasts and they're using these simple apps to do their podcasts. Some of them are pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you. Some are really pretty good.
Yeah. And, one of the things that we coach over here when we're coaching new podcasters is, honestly, we encourage them to just jump in. And when you just jump in, those first 2, 3, 4 first season or whatever, it may not be that great, but at least you get that experience and you know where to build from. And I believe, and we've seen that audiences enjoy to go on that journey with you. They can remember that first podcast where it was jumbled and stuttering and different things going on, to that 10th podcast where you grew to that 3rd season and you're just dynamic in front of the microphone. So audiences appreciate that level of authenticity.
Oh yeah. I mean, and speaking of authenticity, I want to give a shout out to a new podcaster. And I was speaking about her earlier. Her name is Sparkle Robinson. She just started her podcast, and it's called, the name of it is She's Spanky, a Sparky. She's a prophetic ministries. Her intro was really deep. I mean, she did a damn good job on the intro. I listened to it, and she hosts a podcast on Anchor FM, and that's the one I was talking about, Anchor FM. I got you. But she's a natural.
Yeah.
I mean, she is a natural. I was very impressed with her intro for her podcast because she tells a story of her life, how she found God and how things change and her beliefs. And it's really deep. And I definitely have to get a shout out to her for that because I was very impressed with it. I had to give her kudos.
Yeah, I will definitely be looking for that.
So you get a chance to take a listen to her. She's awesome.
Will do. Subscribe, rate, and review.
Subscribe, rate, and review, my man. That's what you got to do. Because you're not going to learn if people say, hey, you know what? Everything you do is awesome.
Yeah. Now my public review, will be everything you do is awesome. But if I have some, constructive feedback, we'll do that in private.
So let's see here. We know you are on the 7th and 21st. And who's your next guest you got coming up?
I'm the type of guy that I like to keep a little bit of suspense because I want the listeners to have to listen in to find out who the next guest is going to be.
So question, what did you, being a coach on podcasting, give us some feedback on coaching. I mean, what is it that you suggest podcasters do?
Number one thing is just to get started. And we'll give a shout out to Anchor because they're a free platform and it's extremely easy to get started. I use Buzzsprout. They have a 3-month intro before you have to pay for a paid subscription. But I encourage people to get comfortable with hearing their voice, get comfortable speaking, determine what type of format you're going to have, and just get started. I believe activity brings about positive results. So if there's one bit of information that I could offer, it's get started and get comfortable hearing your voice.
That's a good point. Because I think we touched base on it before about getting comfortable hearing your voice. And for myself, as you get older, your voice changes. When I was younger, I was more musical. So I actually cut an album, did a lot of singing. Today, I couldn't probably carry a tune.
You got a couple octaves over there.
But you think about that. And then when you start podcasting, you start listening to your voice and you start listening to how your words are coming out and whether or not people can actually understand what you say or what you didn't say. It's pretty interesting. So you're right. Get comfortable with your voice.
Yeah. And it's seldom that when we're in conversation, we never get an opportunity to play it back. Great thing about podcasts, you can go back and listen to it. And to your point, you can evaluate how you're articulating, how you're enunciating, and improve on those things. So the best thing you can do is have some type of resource that you can go back to and evaluate and improve upon.
Sounds like a winner to me. So let's see here. On closing, what do you want to leave with my listeners today, my man? Oh, no. Wait. Hold up. Wait. I just thought about something. Did you get any sales on the code that you...
I knew you were going to ask me that. Yeah, so we still have some stuff slowly trickling in. It did better when we initially launched it, HNC7. That code is actually going to expire at the end of this month, the end of May. But here's what I'm going to do. But wait, there's more. I always have an offer for the HNC listeners. Those of you that have purchased, if you would please go back to the website, True7CBD, and rate your products. Give us a review. Be it good or be it bad. We like that feedback. So go back and review our products, please. We're looking for that information. But here's what I'm going to do, Dexter. The code, it expired, as I said, at the end of this month. What I'm going to do, I'm going to change it from expiring at the end of the month to expiring with a certain amount of uses. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add probably about 20 additional uses. And listen, I know you're looking at me like 20 is not enough, so let's go ahead and make it 30. So at the end of the month, we'll have 30 additional uses. In the event that some people go back and listen to those episodes, that code will still be active.
Awesome. And speaking of that, HNC Let's Talk would like to announce we now have HNC Let's Talk store. with the surge of COVID-19 and market demand for products like hand sanitizer, we partner with manufacturers to provide and supply affordable products, which features hand sanitizers and masks. The website is hncletstalk.store. And there's a 10% discount for hand sanitizer with the code COVID-19 on checkout. Minimum of two orders for the sanitizer because they go fast. Everybody's looking for it. See, I'm always busy, man. You see that, right?
I'm telling you, man. That's a great thing you guys are doing with the hand sanitizer and mask.
Oh, yeah. And so one of the things that happened that I noticed and being in, like I said, been in healthcare, when COVID first started, the first thing they did was pulled all the PPE. All PPE was pulled from the markets, and that included hand sanitizer, Clorox, masks, Lysol, those type of things. That's why you can't find it in the grocery store. It was for the front line only. So it left the public with nothing. You couldn't find Purell.
Right.
And you still can't. And as long as COVID is out there, those things will be limited. But we were able to partner with the manufacturer to be able to provide hand sanitizer, not just plain, but with alloy, so it doesn't dry your skin, to assist in this type of situation so people can actually have hand sanitizer. Now, masks are a dime a dozen these days. Everybody got masks. But everybody don't have hand sanitizer.
Correct.
So that's a good thing. And I'm glad to be able to do that. It made me feel good to be able to give back that way.
Absolutely.
To sign off, I want to thank Tavarus Hogans for joining us again at HNC Let's Talk Podcast. And he will be back again. As you said, he's very active, and he's already working his way to visit us here in Denver, Colorado. And I think that'll be, what? This is what I wanted to throw at you here before I sign off.
You always have an angle.
Well, you were talking about your first podcast event that you went to.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they're not probably doing them now because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We need to figure out a way to do those virtual.
There are some people that are doing them virtual. We will have to dig into it more offline, but Podcast Movement, which is the largest one, they were having theirs in August. They do have a date. They moved it back to October. So they have a date. It's a flexible date. They're big enough and wise enough and smart enough to know that they're going to do the right things and not put people in jeopardy, which is why they took time and they moved it back. If we get closer to that date and it doesn't look good, I know, Jared, the guy that runs it, he's going to move it back again. So that is on the books, and that is a great one to go to. But to your point, doing something virtual, I'm all about starting something virtual and allowing it to grow in spite of these other ones that are live also, because there is an audience for that. There are going to be people that can't get there.
Right. That's the main point. There are people that cannot get there. And I'm always looking out for the persons that are not able to travel and the people that are disabled. And that's important to me, that I recognize those facts that people that do have issues with getting to locations can do things virtual. We need to do more things virtual in this life. And I think COVID has taught us that. I think that was a wake-up call to everybody, that we needed to start doing more things on a virtual basis because it's necessary.
Let's get a date on the books. I know a gang of people that would love to log on and log in and help us out.
All right, my man. And until next time, Mr. Hogans, thank you again for joining HNC Let's Talk Podcast.
Always a pleasure.
Oh, really?
Bye.